If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
We are here with an international #1 best-selling author, Alvin Adjei. Alvin, how does it feel? You just hit #1 bestseller, dude, international bestseller.
It's I don't know. It's very surreal. I don't know if it's really like seeped in yet. I feel very blessed to have really a great support team of people who helped me on this journey. I had obviously wonderful parents that encouraged me. Boss at Cider Spoons, who was a wonderful writing coach to kind of help me on my first book. And then my mom connecting me with your wonderful company, Elite Publishing, so that the all the stars really aligned. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I've been really blessed, and just looking forward to sharing the story.
His book, A Case for Greatness. And, like a lot of authors, sometimes the book doesn't happen as fast as you want it to. And you had to work all the way through COVID. There was kind of stops and starts. I remember the judicial system shut down when you were waging through, like, I'm ready to go. No, I'm not. Everything stopped. And I imagine that was frustrating. But tell us a little bit about your book and what your book is about in your words.
Yeah, so the book I call it A Case for Greatness because, I mean, it's a play on the trials that happen in our life. And
Mhm.
so, obviously, like as an attorney, like I deal with trials, and that the book is divided into three parts. But
Mhm.
there were trials that happened in my upbringing, and both like as an athlete and as just as a son in the family and as a student. Like those trials helped to prepare me to be a better advocate when it was needed. And so I wanted to give people an opportunity to kind of learn more about my story, but also to encourage the reader. The core audience the core audience is going to be people who are interested in the legal field, but I
Mhm.
believe it's bigger than that. And I think that anyone that is trying to reach whatever calling they feel like they have in their life, that it is something that can let them know that there are going to be setbacks. You are going to fail, and that's okay. And there are going to be times when you feel like you've hit the rock bottom and you don't know where the top is, you don't know what to do. And
Mhm.
the message from the book is that a lot of times greatness comes from overcoming those setbacks, learning those lessons, and it just makes you it makes you all the stronger as you go forward.
And I love, you mentioned your athletic career, and it's interesting the word you used, the death of my track career. Like it wasn't like, it was like it was killed from you. It was pretty dramatic that you used that word. Tell
Yeah.
me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that for I'll say that for myself, but I think that for a lot of young men, being an athlete is a part of your identity.
Hmm.
And you hold on to it probably a little longer than you probably should have. I mean, with hindsight, I can say like I probably, you know, I was probably like a year behind in realizing like I probably wasn't going to make it to the level that I'd hoped that I was going to make it
Hmm.
at. And but it was a part of my identity because when I was in high school, I was a good student. I was a really good, I was a talented student,
Yeah.
but I felt like what helped to make me or set me apart was that I was able to be a good student and a really good athlete. And it helped me be in circles that I probably wouldn't have been in at
Hmm.
going to a really big public school. So the way that it felt like it kind of happened is that, I've always been a pretty driven person and you read about it in the book, but when I'm in college and I'm about to do this race, like I'd put so much pressure on myself and was so excited about finally like I'm a
Hmm.
D1 athlete. I have the uniform on. I'm going to show all these people what Alvin from Texas can do. And I'm going against all these kids from all these like big name schools. And it just, the race didn't end the way that I had hoped. And it put me on a different trajectory. And I'm
Yes.
happy that it happened because I probably don't go to law school as soon as I did. and maybe not even at all, because if I'd stayed on that route, then I probably would have tried to pursue trying to be a track athlete, a professional track
Mhm.
athlete, instead of what was closer to what my real calling is.
And it's interesting in life, we do sometimes have to redefine our identities. It takes us somewhere. And I love that about your book that you really point out that, hey, you have to redefine yourself at different points and don't get sucked in and feel bad, but pick yourself up and really move to what is next for you. And looking at, like you say, well, maybe it was just the people that I met and the things and the discipline I learned from my athletic journey that's now taken me and I've applied to my law career. So why now? Why this book now? You've been thinking about it, you've been working on it. What made you want to write the book in the first place?
So there was always that part of me, and I don't know if there's ever really a great explanation other than the fact that you just kind of had a feeling, like a prompting that, I should write a book. But as you know, like a book is a great endeavor. It takes a lot of dedication and focus and coming up with what's your theme going to be and making sure you
Mhm.
follow that all the way through the book so it's
Yeah.
consistent. And I had a mentor that was encouraging me to she was encouraging me in a lot of things, but she was encouraging me at the time I was at the district attorney's office, and I was enjoying my time there, and the conventional wisdom was that I needed to be there for 5
Mhm.
years, and she was like, "Oh, I think you're ready now to make the jump into the civil world," and so she clearly saw something that I hadn't seen yet. So, I guess fast forward, she passes away unexpectedly when she had like a second home and like a horse ranch in Kentucky. And so she dies unexpectedly. And I went to her memorial service, and it just kind of hit me that tomorrow is not promised. If there's anything that you feel like you want to do, then if it's inside of you, like, no one has to tell you to do it. Like, that was given
Mhm.
to you. I mean, I'm a person of faith, so it feels like God has given that you have that prompting for a reason. And so you need to it's your mission to go out and to make the most of it. So that's when I just decided, like, if I didn't write it, I would regret it for the rest of my life. So just let's just do it.
And, I love that you say that tomorrow's not promised, and so many people, they'll just put it off and put it off, and sometimes their legacy and their message dies with them. When you think of the lives that can change because of your message and what you're saying, of whose hands you never know whose hands that book is gonna get into. How do you plan on using your book for your career, for your law career, but then just in the general way, general public?
So that's a really great question. I mean, I think as far right now, it's just kind of getting the message out there. I am, the owner of the firm that I've been at for about 4 years now. And so I think for one, for our clients who are interested in, they'll kind of see like they'll get more detail as far as in the background. Like when I advertise and say like I'm a trial attorney, they'll know like, oh, like this is a person who, yes, he does look young, but he has been doing a lot of trials, and
Yeah.
the information that he gives me is because he understands how a jury may look at a case. And so
Mhm.
maybe he'll like, even though he looks young, if he's being measured in a certain response, there's a reason. And if he's being bullish or more aggressive in his response, there's a reason. So that's I think that's part of it too. And then
Mhm.
just there were when I was president of the Houston Young Lawyers Association, I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of law students and or people who are thinking about law school. And
Yeah.
for them, I really wanted to give them the opportunity to kind of see what it's like for like the type of the type of person mentality that kind of decides to go into law school, and what are some of the challenges. Now the challenges aren't going to be the same as mine. Everyone has a different story, but
Mhm.
it can give some encouragement on their journey. Then I think that would be a big benefit, because in the legal field we have a high rate of depression, we have a high rate of divorce, we have a high rate of anxiety, and those are all things that ultimately that I had to deal with and sometimes still deal with, particularly as a trial attorney. So that's one, that's part of the message that I wanted to go forward, and that's what I helped to do. I mean, I'm sure I don't know all the doors that it's going to open, and that I think that's one of the good things about life is that it gives you surprises and
Yeah.
you enjoy that.
And it does open doors. It's amazing how a book can open doors, and having the title, like you're a trial attorney, you're an award-winning trial attorney, and now you're an international number one best-selling author, trial attorney. That's impressive as well. And I always tell authors, think about, you think about selling books, but how many books can you give to people that can change your life or change the trajectory of your business? Someone who's thinking about hiring you, they want to get to know you, you can send them your book. And intimately, they have this intimate relationship with you because they know your backstory, they know what you've been through, and they're like, yeah, I like this guy. He's made it. He's come through. He's like me. He's had some rough times and he's overcome them and still successful. He can relate to me and I can relate to him, is what I think it really does. So I always tell authors, it's great to sell books, but think of, as a marketing lead generation tool as well. It's one of the most inexpensive ways that you can do that. But that is, really true. For your book now becomes a marketing tool for you, not just to give it away and get it in the hands of prospective clients. Now it's also working for you that Amazon is now your biggest cheerleader. They're putting your book up. When someone searches Alvin's name, it's going to come up in search on the first page. His Amazon author page, his link to buy his book is going to come up there. So it's this great marketing tool that stays with you forever, as long as Amazon stays around, which we're thinking Amazon's going to be around for years and years to come. And even if not, you still have that book and it outlives you. So Alvin's story is I met his mother at a business networking group, and she asked me what I did. And I told her that I owned a publishing company. She's like, oh my gosh, my son is working on this book. I really want you to meet my son. And so Alvin and I got together at a coffee shop and talked about his book, and he was working on it. And then COVID happened, and that kind of put everything into a tizzy. The legal system had shut down here in Houston. And so he was regrouping and still trying to work on his book. And then finally he came, he was ready to go. And we got his book launched in just a matter of months, and then made him a number one bestseller. And you may ask, well, why is it important? So look at Alvin as an attorney. He says in his credentials that he's an award-winning attorney, and that helps him give more credibility. So when you become an international bestseller, by the way, and I want to say that his book, A Case for Greatness, hit number one in 14 categories, not just one or two. So far, his book just went out yesterday. He hit 8 categories in Australia. Australia loves Alvin, so they are really embracing his book. And he hit 6 categories in the United States. Plus, on top of that, he hit multiple categories in the hot new releases. So A Case for Greatness. We want to make sure you pick that book up today on Amazon, and make sure you get the book. And you can check Alvin out on his replay here and share this video with other people.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a number one bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.